You suffer enough that something inside you goes, I'm done. And I'm like lucky because I hit that point before I lost really the things that were the most important, which was not my career or money, it was my relationship with my kids. And when I felt as if it impacted them, I recognized it. It was the worst day of my life. I made amends. And I, for a while, I thought maybe this is temporary. Maybe this feeling is going to go away. But since that day, I swear to Christ, I have not ever wanted to drink once. Ever.
Wow.
So it's the easiest thing in the world. Because every time I think about it, I'm just like, holy shit, that's the worst thing in the world. I don't want that. I can't do that. And that's the piece that people find. So now I'm that asshole who's like, I'm grateful. I learned a lot. I actually got to be a better person through this process, and I've lost the obsession.
In your late 20s, you stopped drinking.
Stopped drinking, yeah.
Very difficult?
No, beautiful, unbelievable.
Better?
Oh, are you kidding? I would never be sitting here with you. No way, no chance.
Because?
Because I wouldn't have been able to have access to myself or other people, or even been able to take in other people if I hadn't changed my life. No way. And I never would have been able to have relationships that I do. I never would have been able to take care of my father the way I did when he was sick. So many things.
Thank you, Bradley. Bradley just put his daughter to bed and rushed over here to do this. He's a sweetheart. I got sober because of this guy, and every day has been happier ever since.
What I realized was I was running to things to avoid tough feelings, painful feelings. I just didn't know how to deal with them, and looking for anything I found that I use for escape, I guess, difficult feelings. I don't know how better to describe it. I mean, that can be anything. That can be drugs, booze, Netflix, snacks, anything. I don't want to, at this point, to be running from anything. I want to sit in it, I want to feel it, I want to get through the rough night. And I found in doing so, you come out the other side with a more profound understanding of yourself, a greater gratefulness for those in your life, and the birds and the trees and everything else.
I would call it a problem. It's now not a problem. I drank in search of happiness and in search of a lifestyle that I thought would bring me to happiness. It didn't, and I woke up one morning going, wow, I've drank a lot, but I'm still not happy. What's that about? And, now we're about a year and a half later, and my life has turned around immeasurably. It's a wonderful thing. And I say to anybody watching or listening to this that, it's... there is a lot of pressure on young people not to drink necessarily, but to find happiness through going out and getting mashed, and that's fun, and you have a good time, and good luck to you. But if it doesn't work for you, and if you keep waking up going, I don't seem to be having nearly as good time as most of my friends, then think about it. It doesn't have to be something you do, is all I'd say.
You might say, well, why do people drink too much? It's like, if you like alcohol, that's a stupid question.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, why do people drink too much? Well, because it's great.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so why stop? Well, you do stupid things when you're drunk. You hurt yourself. You compromise your health. It's really hard on the people around you. You tend to turn into a liar, and it screws up your life.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, but it's pretty fun. Yeah, well, it is. But you need something better than that. And what's better isn't being straight and not making mistakes. It's like, that's all prohibition in some sense. What's better is, no, you need an adventure, man. You need to get out there and have something to do.
Yeah.
And something worth waking up for. And that's the substitute for the addiction.
It isn't that you're trying to avoid booze exactly. It's that you're trying to restructure your whole life. If you're a drinker, then all your friends are drinkers, and you're used to drinking in every social situation. And the places that you go to socialize are places that you drink. And it's really built in as a whole set of habits. And so what you have to do is kind of redesign your life. You can't just stop drinking. You have to figure out what you're going to start doing instead of drinking. There's a hole that you have to fill in.
Like, there were times I was like, man, I could never be a sober person because I'm afraid of, I can't communicate with women, or I'm afraid to, stand around in a circle with tough guys without having like a beer in my hand, or like all these little crutches, I can't. And then I remember when I got like 90 days sober, I was just like, holy shit, man. Like, it was like the first time I'd ever done something like for myself,
Yeah.
And it just, man, it felt unprecedented.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, this is the drug that is causing so many problems for young people, particularly on campuses.
Sure.
And the schools are hand in glove with the manufacturers of it.
Because it's socially acceptable.
There's a slight suppression in the activity of neurons in the prefrontal cortex. This is an area of your neocortex that's involved in thinking and planning, perhaps above all, in suppression of impulsive behavior. And as you shut down the prefrontal cortex, that GABAergic suppression of impulses starts to be released. So people will say things that they want to say without so much forethought about what they're saying. Or they might do things that they want to do without really thinking it through quite as much, or they might not even remember thinking it through at all. One of the more important things to know about the effects of alcohol in the brain is areas of the brain that are involved in flexible behavior, sort of considering different options, like I could do A or I could do B. Those brain areas basically shut down.
Probably the most common detriment that alcohol has to the brain is the fact that alcohol is a depressant to the central nervous system. So it impairs your judgment, it impairs your reflexes, and your ability to think through.
And top-down inhibition is diminished. That is, habitual behavior and impulsive behavior starts to increase. This is true in the short term, so after people have 1 or 2, maybe 3 or 4 drinks. But it's also true that the more often that people drink, there are changes in the very circuits that underlie habitual and impulsive behavior. For the person that drinks, say, every Thursday night, or goes out only on Saturdays, but every Saturday, there's evidence that there are changes in the neural circuits of the brain that control habitual behavior and impulsive behavior, and they are modified and strengthened in ways that make those people more habitual and more impulsive outside the times in which they are drinking. And when they drink, impulsive and habitual behavior tends to increase even further. When we ingest alcohol, the toxic effects of alcohol disrupt those mood circuitries, at first making them hyperactive. This is why people become really talkative, people start to feel really good after a few sips of alcohol, at least most people do. Then as they ingest more alcohol, serotonin levels and the activity of those circuits really starts to drop, and that's why people feel less good. And typically what they do, they go and get another drink and they attempt to kind of restore that feeling of well-being and mood. Now, typically what happens is that as people ingest the 3rd and 4th, maybe even the 5th drink, there's an absolute 0 chance of them recovering that energized mood. Right? Most people, as they drink more and more, will now start to feel more and more suppressed. The forebrain is now shutting down quite a lot. A lot of the motor cortical areas that control coordinated movement and deliberate movement start to shut down. So people start to slur their speech, people start to shuffle their feet, people forget their posture, people start to lean on things, people start passing out on couches. There's a great depression. I hate to break it to you, but the reality is ethanol produces substantial damage to cells. And it does that because when you ingest ethanol, it's broken down into acetaldehyde. And if you thought ethanol was bad, acetaldehyde is particularly bad. Acetaldehyde is poison. It will kill cells. It damages and kills cells, and it is indiscriminate as to which cells it damages and kills. It is the poison, the acetaldehyde itself, that leads to the effect of being inebriated or drunk. I think most people don't realize that being drunk is actually
way I could write seriously and think seriously on an ongoing basis if I was hungover. So, and I got married and I was going to have kids, and I thought, yeah, enough of this. And so, I've watched too, as I've gone around the world, I've met very, very many people in many, many social occasions. And because I don't drink anything at all now, if I go out and watch people drinking, it makes everybody stupid and fuzzy-minded. And the problem is when you're drinking, you think you're cool, but, you have those same delusions that Homer Simpson's friend Barney had when he was drinking, that you're this kind of, elegant and sophisticated comedian, and it just makes everybody stupid in social circumstances. And you learn very rapidly to rely on the alcohol, not only as a social lubricant, but as the basis of your social behavior. And I would say, to young people who are watching, listening, that's a stupid plan. You should learn how to be in a social group with others when you're sober so that you bloody well know how to do it. especially if you're planning to do anything even vaguely serious and responsible with your life, which is, you know, probably something you should be doing.
A good friend of mine, exactly my age, within a few months, I quit at 21, he quit at 31, and we were both 34 or 35. We were out with some friends and we're dancing and having fun, and I'm just me. And I'm actually more introverted, so I'm not super outgoing, but I'm still having a great time. I'm dancing, I'm having fun, and he comes up to me and he goes, "How do you do that?"
I don't miss it generally, like now at all. Like I like the sort of chaos I used to invite into my life. I'm like, I'm really much happier now.
I, for maybe the first time, am proud of myself that I didn't quit quitting.
Sometimes they talk about you have an epiphany, and I did. It was one day my wife was out, and I was opening up and I thought, am I out of my mind? Yes. And I made a phone call, and I've been sober ever since. That was 32 years ago. It's a very odd feeling, but I had some great people. I spoke to some people at the time. It's one of those things that you don't even question.